All right, welcome into week 4 of the college football season, and only really week 3 for UCF after they had a bye last week. This is the one that's been circled on the calendar for a long time for UCF fans. You dispatch, a couple of lower tier teams in the first 2 weeks, you get your bye, and now you get your shot at an ACC team, a Bill Belichick coach team in the North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm Chris Vinel. We got our UCF expert with us, Chris Boyle. You know him. And then we have Rod Baxley with us from the Fayetteville Observer. Rod, how you doing today?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me. Should be a fun weekend down there in Orlando for y'all.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for joining us, Chris. You doing all right?
Doing good. It's going to be a long week, but we're right in the middle of it right now.
That sounds. We need some more optimism and some energy.
Hey,
I'm
fired up. We got the bye week. We recharged the batteries. It's just going to be a lot to do. I mean, Belichick brings a lot of attention, a lot of media hype, a lot of buzz. It's going to be a lot to do, but it's going to be it should be a really fun game, really fun atmosphere on Saturday.
Let's start with you in the bye week updates. What's kind of the state of the night's program? What's the latest on Sean Clark and the QB situation?
Yeah, well, it was a pretty subdued mood yesterday around the program. Offensive line coach Sean Clark had a medical emergency over the bye week. It doesn't sound like he's going to be back anytime soon. For the time being, they have his hand-picked assistant, Alex Farah, is going to step up. He was the offensive quality control coach, or one of a few of them. So he'll take over the offensive line. They're also looking to add a veteran coach if in the interim. Not sure exactly when that's supposed to be just yet, but that was something that Scott Frost mentioned in his press conference on Monday. The quarterback situation is the big thing still. Cam Fancher was cleared to practice. We'll see if Taven Jackson did enough to keep the job. I think he played pretty well in the fourth quarter against Jacksonville State, certainly, and then against North Carolina A&T. He looked like he was in command for the most part, made a couple of big throws early in the game, ran for 2 touchdowns. This is, I think, the guy they kind of initially probably expected to be the starter. Cam Fancher won the job to his credit in camp, and it seems unfair to lose your job after taking a targeting call in the second quarter. But such is the nature of the quarterback position at college football. There's not much that you can do where changes are made at a pretty quick, at a drop of a hat. So we'll see.
Yeah, we've seen that once or twice or 40 times before, where the starter gets hurt and all of a sudden he comes back and he's
we almost saw it with North Carolina in the opener. You think? Yep. I mean, I'm sure Rod will touch on it, but look, Gio Lopez left that game early, and there were questions about whether Max Johnson would be the guy going forward.
Yeah, Rod, what's kind of the state of UNC this week? What's the biggest storyline going on at the time?
Yeah, the biggest storyline for me anyway is how is Carolina going to look in its return to Power 4 competition? Because as you guys know, it got as bad as it could get against TCU. Everything was great until about 8 minutes after kickoff, and then it was as bad as you could have asked for in front of a national audience. So that was, 2 or 3 questions even Saturday night after their win against Richmond. Do you feel confident enough now to where you think your guys will perform better against Power 4 competition? And like Bill Belichick said, I feel the same way. We'll see. We'll find out Saturday at the Bounce House. So that's my biggest storyline. How did they bounce back from that embarrassing opening in their first true road game against a Power 4 opponent?
You're right. I mean, everyone watched that week 1 performance, and that's probably where people kind of left off in terms of their UNC attention. What have they looked like the past 2 weeks against Charlotte and against Richmond?
I mean, they've looked better, but they're supposed to look better against those teams, right? No disrespect to Charlotte or Richmond. Charlotte, an FBS school now. And to Carolina's credit, they played that game at a 15,000-seat stadium where the press is under white tents out there. I'm not one to complain, though, man. You know how it is, when you grow up covering college football and you're on the sideline in the muck. So it felt like home to me. But they play in that environment. They beat Charlotte, only allowing 3 points there. And then they come back and do what they're supposed to do to an FCS opponent in Richmond, 41-6, which was a lot tighter than it needed to be late in the third quarter. It was 20-3 before some big defensive play. So I will say I feel a lot more confident in what they're doing defensively. I think they figured out some things on that side of the ball. But offensively, still a lot of question marks for me as far as consistency goes. I do not know what this is going to look like against another team with plus athletes.
I think we are legally required to discuss the Bill Belichick of it all. So I'll give you the one Bill Belichick question I got. Do you feel like it's still kind of a novelty to have Bill Belichick as coach, for UNC fans, or are they kind of getting adjusted now that the season started and it's just more of a, oh, that's our football coach?
Yeah, I think it's more of an adjustment now. But now that we're back in Power 4 the rest of the way, that could change. And then I'll be interested to see what it looks like once we get closer to basketball season, because you know how that goes around here, no matter who the coach is. And you might have to learn the hard way in that regard. The crowd, not TCU level Saturday, but not as bad as some ACC games last year. So I'll let Kenan Stadium slide on that as far as the fans go. But yeah, I mean, I still catch myself going to these press conferences like, we're really going to talk to Bill Belichick today? What is he doing here? This is crazy. But like I've said throughout the offseason and throughout these first few weeks of the season, it seems like he's genuinely happy to just be coaching football. I mean, it seems like he loves it. He's smiling a lot more with us, making some jokes every now and then. Not, the typical we're on to Cincinnati answers as much. So it's been an experience, that's for sure. It's been a circus with how much media attention it's getting. But I think when you come down to the football of it, it's been business as usual.
All right, we'll get back to the football of it. Chris, I got a question for you. Can you give me one player to watch on each side of the ball for UCF in this one? One offensive, one defensive.
Yeah, I think for the offense, I'm going to go with the offensive line as a whole. Not only just because we talked about Sean Clark, because I think this is going to be a unit that obviously is playing with heavy hearts, and they're going to be playing inspired. But I don't think they've particularly looked great blocking in terms of the run. This is a game that we're going to have to see them run the football better. Miles Montgomery was supposed to be kind of the signature piece of their offense, and he's been good when called upon, but they have to give him more room to run. They have to avoid key holding penalties. Two of his touchdowns this year, or two touchdowns he would have scored this year, came back because of holding calls. One of them, to be fair, was a downfield receiver getting called for holding. But the point stands that they've not looked great. They're not graded well according to Pro Football Focus either in terms of run blocking. So Paul Rubelt, as one of the captains of this team, I think we'll have a lot to say going into this game about that team and about the unit. As far as the defense is concerned, I'm looking at the two edge rushers. I think we saw Nigel E. Kelly and Malachi Lawrence really play well in the start of that game against North Carolina A&T. They have got to get North Carolina into third and long. This has not been a good offense in terms of third downs. They're 108th in the nation. They're 12 for 36 on third down. If they can force North Carolina into obvious passing situations, they've not looked good in those situations. So I think that's really the key is to win on the edges and for those two ends to take over the game.
This will be an interesting test for Alex Grinch's defense as a whole, because you kind of see that hire and some people kind of scratch their head and go, oh, I've seen that defense before. But through 2 weeks against lower tier competition, it's looked really good. So, taking that jump up in competition, it should be interesting. Rod, same thing. Who's someone to watch on offense for the Tar Heels, and who's someone to watch on defense?
Yeah, I feel like Chris and I are reading off the same script here. I would say the offensive line, but I don't know how much they can do to fix that at this point, man. They were getting pushed around by Richmond at points last week and struggled to finish in the red zone inside the 10-yard line with 2 field goals in the first half of that game. So I'm going Gio Lopez. I mean, we saw how bad he looked against TCU when things started to snowball. Pick 6 in the first half, a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. So he scored 14 points, but for the other team. He has looked a lot better since then as far as creating with his feet and showing his mobility and what they liked from him coming out of South Alabama. But what's he going to do against UCF? That's the big question I have. Is he going to be able to control it and make sound decisions, play a turnover-free game? We'll see. That's definitely my player to watch offensively. Defensively, Melkart Abujade, defensive end. for Carolina, had 2 sacks last week on the same series and a fumble recovery, finally giving that unit some juice after they did not have a sack against TCU, had 1 sack against Charlotte, 3 last week. So still bottom tier as far as FBS schools go, but some momentum there with Melcart, and then I think he's going to be one of the guys to watch on that defensive line, which has been a big problem for Carolina in recent years, no matter who the coach has been. So those are the 2 players I'm watching for down at Central Florida.
And you nailed his name. It's going to take me until at least Friday this week to nail that name. That's a good one.
Yeah, Melcart Abudijay. So
all right.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Chris, I'm putting you on the spot. Give me your score prediction.
Oh my God.
He knows it's coming too.
I know. And I've been playing ping pong in my head right now, trying to figure out which team I'm going to take. I look back to that North Carolina game.
Chris, you can probably pick the same score and just list the score first and kind of stall for 30 seconds and then pick the team, because I
may pick both teams in the middle of this prediction. I'll be honest with you. I go back to that North Carolina game against TCU, and I just think, for one thing, that really surprised me with a Belichick team is how poor they tackled in that game. Yeah. They really, really struggled to get guys on the ground. I do think that issue will get fixed as the year goes on, and I'm not sure that UCF has the level of dynamism, particularly in the passing game, that TCU does. One good thing about UCF, though, is Taven Jackson has seen this defense before. Last year, when he was the starting quarterback at Indiana, his 1 start of the season was against Washington under the defensive coordinator of Steve Belichick. So there will be some things I'm sure he's seen on tape and experienced in game that'll help. With that said, I'm going to lean North Carolina. I think the fact that they were embarrassed the first time out, the fact that they've played an extra game, the fact that they know what upper competition looks like, I think gives them a little bit of an advantage. I think that they'll find a way in a low-scoring game. And I think that the other thing they found is kind of an identity. They found a running back, and I hope it's Damon. I don't want to call him. I don't want to call him Demon June if it's wrong. It's Damon June. Last week against Richmond ran wild. He had a big game the week before that against Charlotte. Seems to be the guy that's really elevated himself on that roster and become the identity, the focal point of their offense. So I'm going to go North Carolina to win this game by the score of 23-17.
You got it. Rod, same thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite here, Chris. I'm just going to roll with Vegas, man, and go with Central Florida with those 3 points. I'm thinking like 24-21 Knights. For me, it's just so hard to get that TCU game out of my brain. I need, what's the thing off the Men in Black movies, the neuralizer? I need one of those, and maybe I would pick Carolina in this game, because I do think it's a coin flip game. But I got to see it, man. And I think, being at the bounce house, I'll give Central Florida the slight edge there until I see that Carolina has shown the improvement to merit the belief there, which I will say they are a lot better tackling wise since week 1, when they missed maybe, I think it was like 19 tackles. And then I think they only missed 2 Saturday. And most of them were right at the point of attack, just down right away. So, yeah, Carolina's gotten a lot better against teams they were supposed to beat. But I got to see it, man. Show me. So I'm going Central Florida 24-21 on Saturday.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Rod. And
Chris,
as always, Chris, we appreciate your expertise. Anything else we got to talk about? That's all I got for you.
That's all I got, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Plug where people can find you real quick.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, most of my stuff comes out of FayObserver.com, but we are part of the USA Today network, so 5 or 6 papers in North Carolina, Wilmington, Asheville. All my stuff's in there. And then on Twitter, just at Rod Baxley, Blue Sky at Rod Baxley. Any social media, that's where I'm at with what we have to do nowadays. So that's where y'all can find me.
Chris, plug the Twitter real quick. They know us because this will be on the website. But
at Chris Boyle DBNJ on X, and Yeah, you can find our stuff not only in Daytona Beach, but just like Rod's things across Carolina. We're all over Florida. We're in, the Space Coast, Lakeland, Ocala, all the way around the greater Central Florida area.
We got a good one coming up on Saturday afternoon. We'll be there to break it down. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you after that one.